Hello everyone, Melinda Jennison's my name, Managing Director of Streamline Property Buyers here in Brisbane. This market update is going to summarise the very latest CoreLogic and PropTrack data to help you understand what is actually going on in Brisbane. So let's get right into it. First of all, in terms of listing volumes, we are still down 27.9% compared to this time last year. This is according to SQM research data. We're going to show some graphic illustration of the low listing environment that we have here in Brisbane shortly. Auction clearance rates for the month, according to Apollo Auctions, sitting at 65% clearance rate for Brisbane. Buyer activity is high. That is for quality properties. We are seeing quality properties sell in a matter of days after only one or two inspections. However, B and C grade assets, days on market is trending higher. So anything that is an impact or has an impact like flood, or anything that requires a lot of work is definitely taking longer to sell in Brisbane. House values across the month of June, according to CoreLogic, up 1.3%. Unit values up 1%. So still positive growth across both segments of the market here in Brisbane. Gross yields are currently sitting at 4.3% here in Brisbane. Let's take a look, first of all, at listing volumes. So they're definitely trending down again. That top line shows the average volume of listings in Brisbane over the last several years, and you can see that there's been a significant shift downwards post-COVID. Whilst we saw a small trend upward in recent months, it's been trending downward once again. Between May and June, we saw a very small increase in the number of total listings. Some would argue that we're going to expect more listings come to the market because of this mortgage cliff that people keep talking about, although we're simply not seeing that at this stage here in Brisbane. Listings are very tight, and I think if you have been in the market to buy in recent months, you will have experienced this. In terms of sales volumes, they are lower than last year. CoreLogic data confirms that we are 24.5% down in terms of our sales volumes. Now, this is also a consequence of lower listings. If there's fewer properties available to sell naturally, we're going to see lower volumes of sales. I will say that the depth of buyers appears to be increasing on those quality properties, and we're seeing that through a lot of properties selling with multiple offers and also a higher than average number of registered bidders per auction. Again, we're going to get into that information. So buyer demand is strong. This is an image taken at an auction just last weekend. In Brisbane, auction clearance rates, this is the domain auction clearance rates data now, which does incorporate a lot of Southeast Queensland, not just Brisbane. But April was 62%, May 57%, June 56.5%. So very similar to May. But multiple offer is still very common, and properties that are quality properties are selling very quickly when they are private treaty sales. Dwelling values for the month of June have definitely increased here in Brisbane, up 1.3%, second in growth only to Sydney across the month of June. Now, quarterly growth for all dwellings in Brisbane up 3%, again, second only to Sydney, which is sitting at 4.9%. When we look at the PropTrack data, that also shows that dwelling growth for the month of June increased 0.08%. So that trend is consistent across both data sets. House values in Brisbane have also increased. Across the month of June, we saw a 1.3% increase in house values here in Brisbane. That puts quarterly growth at 3%. So it's definitely cemented that we are in a market recovery at this point in time. Since January, we've experienced 1% growth in the housing market here in Brisbane. So we're definitely seeing a much more stable market than we were experiencing this time last year when property prices in terms of median values started to fall. When we look at PropTrack data, house values also increased across the month of June. Brisbane property values in the housing sector, according to PropTrack, increased 0.18%. Looking at unit values, back to CoreLogic data now. For Brisbane, across the month of June, unit values increased 1%. That puts quarterly growth at 3%. You'll note that the year to date, we've experienced 3% growth in the unit market, which outpaces the growth in the housing market. Annual growth in units is still positive here in Brisbane, according to that CoreLogic data, sitting at 1.5%. In terms of PropTrack data, unit values showed that they declined slightly, negative 0.53% across the month of June. Again, we have no clarity as to why both data sets sometimes show some different results. And therefore, we like to report on both to help people get a broader understanding of what the data is actually telling us. Let's look at property value changes since January 2020. Now, you'll see here in the black lines, this is growth on a month-by-month basis in the housing market, and the blue bars are growth on a month-by-month basis in the unit market. Anything above the centre line is positive growth. Anything below is negative growth. Now, you'll see during the COVID time when we had that post-COVID boom, we saw month-on-month growth in the housing market outpace the month-on-month growth in the unit market, but we had growth across all segments of the market. House price growth started to retract and become negative much faster than unit price growth, as you will see in these bars that fall below the centre line. However, in the past 4 months now in the housing market, we've seen positive growth, and that is the same in the unit market here in Brisbane. So we are back in positive month-on-month growth for both segments of the market in Brisbane. Vacancy rates in Brisbane remain low. Currently, as at May data, we're sitting at 1% vacancy across the city. Whilst that's slightly higher than the lows of about August, September 2022, we're definitely now seeing vacancy rates escalate slightly, some areas more so than others. For example, we know in the Ipswich region, vacancy rates are now up to 1.5%, coming off lows of 0.5% in August last year. And we also know in the Brisbane CBD, vacancy rates are now sitting at 1.4%, coming off lows from February this year, which were much lower at 0.5%. So some areas are trending higher. However, across the board, vacancy does remain tight here in Brisbane, and that is a consequence of very low supply of investment properties. And in fact, in a recent news report, 24% of investors, or rather 24% fewer investors opted to buy in Brisbane in the last 12 months compared to the 12 months prior. So we've definitely seen a slowdown in the number of property investors buying into Brisbane, and that's based on lending data. Because we've got very tight vacancy, rents are still increasing. When we look at the housing market, rents have increased 8.6% over the last 12 months. In the unit market, 16.3%, so almost double the growth in rents in the unit segment of the market compared to the house segment of the market. Now, the momentum of growth month on month has been declining in the housing market, whereas it's remained relatively stable in the unit market over the last 2 to 3 months. So unit market rents are still at their peak rate of growth. House market rents have started to slow month on month, but they are still in positive territory. So in terms of our market summary, buyers are definitely back in Brisbane. If you have been on the ground in the Brisbane market in recent weeks, you will have seen the number of buyers flocking to quality homes. There are lineups for some properties to get in. It is not unheard of to see some properties where you might have 30, 40 or 50 groups through at a single open home. Also, the number of registered bidders at auctions for quality has increased. We bid in the month of June on properties where there were 20 registered bidders, others where there were 12 registered bidders. This is not uncommon. However, we've also attended other properties where we weren't bidding, where there may have only been 2 registered bidders. So it is not broadly spread across the market. As I've mentioned previously, there is a flock to quality, whereas those B and C grade assets are definitely taking longer to sell because buyers have become a lot more picky and choosy about what they're prepared to spend their money on. Lineups are definitely back, as I mentioned, even though consumer confidence is at record lows, and in fact it's at the lows that are equivalent to those that were experienced in the global financial crisis and also at the onset of COVID. We're starting to see confidence pick up on the ground in terms of buyer activity. Obviously, any media reports that are negative, any change in interest rates, that can also influence consumer confidence on a week-by-week basis. But generally, confidence is improving across the Brisbane city property market. Quality is important, as I've highlighted previously, and some auctions are very highly competitive. I hope that's been a comprehensive market wrap of what we are seeing in the data across Brisbane. Of course, if you are interested in a more comprehensive summary of the market, reach out to us, connect with us. If you scan your phone on this image, this will take you to the Brisbane Property Podcast, which provides an enormous amount of weekly information for you. If you are looking to buy or invest in Brisbane, we highly recommend that you subscribe to our podcast. You can Google Brisbane Property Podcast, click on your favorite podcast player and make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss an episode. Every month, we also publish a monthly update that is available on the Streamline Property Buyers website. Again, the link can be found by scanning this image. That will enable you to get a very comprehensive summary of all the data that I have just presented, as well as some commentary on what we as a team have been seeing on the ground across the previous 4 weeks. Follow us on socials. On Instagram, we're very active. We show the number of people out and about every single weekend because our team is out and about every Saturday, monitoring the market, bidding on properties, inspecting properties for our clients. Of course, if you're wanting to reach out to us to inquire about our buyers advocacy service, there's also an opportunity for you to head to our website and book a discovery call with us. Thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to being in touch again next month. Thanks so much. Bye for now.